Hi there! Soon it's going to be Christmas, and I thought I would share with you some of my favorite Danish Christmas traditions. So stay tuned. Hi and welcome back. My name is Kelly, and if you are new to my channel, I'm an American who lives in Denmark, and I am married to a Danish man, and I have two little Danish American kids, and we like to combine a little bit of both cultures when we celebrate the holidays. But there are some Danish traditions that I really love, and I think you'll love too. But before we get started with that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and you can come along with me and share in all of my different videos and experiences. And also feel free throughout the video to leave comments below. Tell me which of these seem like really interesting traditions for you, or how do they relate to your own family traditions that you have in your country. If you're Danish, let me know. If you come from another place, let me know that as well. I'm really interested in knowing about you and your thoughts. Let's go ahead and get started. So there are a lot of things that happen all the way up to Christmas. And in Denmark, many of these things actually start on December 1st. If you have seen a lot of my other videos, you have heard about the varieties of advent calendars that they have here. But one thing that I didn't mention are other things that they do to count down Christmas. And those are some of my favorite Danish Christmas traditions. So number one is the Christmas countdown candle. So I'll put in a picture here. This is what a Christmas countdown candle looks like. And really what you do is you light it every day and let it burn down to the next number. And it kind of burns down all the way to the 24th, which is Christmas Eve, which is in the Danes' view, the day that they celebrate Christmas. I like it because we always light this candle when we have supper. If you know anything about Denmark in December, it's dark. It starts to get dark in the middle of the day. So when you look outside and maybe it's 1:30 in the afternoon, it looks like the sun is getting ready to set. I know that the sun normally sets around 4 o'clock or something crazy. So it's nice to have candles in the wintertime when it's dark outside. And we like to have this candle burning during supper. It's kind of a nice thing for us, gets us in the Christmas mood, and it adds a bit to our supper table. With that, my number two is the Advent Calendar show. I never really thought I would get into this as much as I do, and maybe it's also because I have children that it's something that I'm getting more into. Now, in Denmark, they have different television channels, and these different channels will give you different Advent shows. The main ones are DR and TV2, I think. And those will have their own Christmas calendar show, which is a show that lasts 24 days, and every day at the same time, they will show a 20-minute part of it. And then it will go on the rest of the month all the way until December 24th. And we really get hooked on these shows. The one that we saw last year in 2018 was called Theo and the Magiske Talisman or something like that. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how interested and involved we were. It was not so much about Christmas. It was a story about kind of like magic and fantasy and a boy and his grandfather. And it was just so cute. My boys and I and my husband, we would sit and we would sing the theme song. We have the subtitles on so I can follow along. And we would talk about it before they go to bed. There are some classic Advent shows where it's mostly about Santa. They tend to play on a repeat. There's one called Nissebanden, and I don't know if it was made in the 80s or what, but these are the elves. In Denmark, they call Nyssa, or elves, or we call them elves, they call them Nyssa. And they're the Nyssa that are helping out Santa, and it's like this big problem, and you know, they have until Christmas Eve, but you kind of feel the pressure because it's a show that continues all of December, and you don't know what's going to happen until Christmas Eve. You can also find these on the kids channels. I believe Ultra, which is kind of the teen tween channel, has an advent calendar show, and I think even Ramashang, which is like the kids channel, they also have one. That would be something interesting. If you want to look those up, you could probably find them online. Or if you are maybe new to Denmark yourself and you want to get into something, put it on every night with the subtitles. If you're someone like me with kids, it would be something great to experience together as a family. My number 3 is æbleskiver. Æbleskiver is kind of like a donut ball. If you've seen my video where we went to Elkhorn, Iowa, believe it or not, they actually have it where you can buy an æbleskiver pan and I think cookbooks and different things like that. So if you're living in the US and you're thinking to yourself, oh, well, we can't buy that here, you can order it from Elkhorn, Iowa, the pan and the mix and all this and the cookbooks and whatever else. So just know that that's out there. But if you're living in Denmark, æbleskiver is kind of everywhere, especially in December. In December, it's traditional to eat these round donut balls with powdered sugar and jam. And you would be eating them most likely on December 23rd, which is called Lille Juleaften, Little Christmas Eve. But I've seen it many times where whenever there's some type of Christmas gathering or function, they're going to serve these. And I know that my kids even get them at least one time in school leading up to Christmas. They're pretty yummy, and again, it's kind of something you look forward to. Sure, I could probably make them or maybe even find them, I don't know, at other times of the year, but this is something you'll definitely find around Christmas time, and it's something that I think people just look forward to. So æbleskiver, yummy. I know a funny note though with that before I move on to the next one is that when we were in the US and we went to some different Danish or Scandinavian style restaurants, they had it on their menu as kind of like a breakfast item. Because in the US, well, I guess I wouldn't call it like a donut ball, I would call it like a pancake ball. Because to me, it would taste really good with maple syrup. And I think it would be something that is very similar to like our pancakes or French toast or something like that. But know this, people, if you are in the US and you go to a Danish restaurant, usually in Denmark, it's something that comes around Christmas time. Number 4, Christmas carols. I love American, British, English, whatever, Christmas carols. I absolutely love them. My favorite growing up has always been Mitch Miller. This guy, I want to say he's from like the 50s. And he kind of had his own band, orchestra, and then like kind of a choir kind of thing. And I don't know, it's like when I hear that, I think of my childhood Christmas. Of course, there are tons of others. So many people have made their own Christmas albums. But I really like the traditional Christmas song. And my most favorite of all the, I guess you could say, church Christmas songs is Et barn er født I Bethlehem. I like singing this when we go to church. It's just got a good flow to it, a good rhythm, but probably my favorite version of this would be from Kim Larson. So Kim Larson, if you haven't seen my other video where I talk about Kim Larson, you should. But I wanted to talk more about his Christmas album, but the video went too long. So here is the Christmas album that I would have mentioned here. I love this. We had this when we were living in the US before we even came to Denmark because my husband's Danish. To me, now living in Denmark, we need to listen to this Christmas CD. Otherwise, something's missing. This to me is Christmas in Denmark. You could probably find this online. Definitely, I would look it up. I'm gonna play a little bit of the song so you get an idea of what it sounds like. Okay, here it is. There you go. There's your little bit of Kim Larson Christmas inspiration for today. So this is one thing that I really love. I love this entire album. There are 14 Christmas songs on here, and you better believe we listen to every single one multiple times. This is one thing that I love about Danish Christmases. But again, you know, that is a song that you would sing in church. It's not his original song. So there are other songs that you would hear that are sung in church, and I think they're so pretty. Again, like I said, I love Christmas songs. I love Oh Holy Night in English. I also really love the song Do You Hear What I Hear? Those are two of my favorite songs for Christmas in English, but when it comes to Denmark for Christmas, they have some really good songs, and Kim Larson is probably the best singer in Denmark, so listening to his stuff is really my recommendation for you. Number 5 of some of my favorite things in Denmark with Christmas is the Nyssa, and I have one. Hello. I love the Danish Nyssa. I mean, he's so cute. This is a tall guy, right? So normally they have like these teeny tiny guys, and I swear all he is a beard, a nose, and a hat. And I don't know, they just melt my heart. I just love these guys. You will find them everywhere in Denmark. And if I see these in other places, I think, oh, they have the Danish Nyssa. To me, this is a very Danish thing. But when we talk about Christmas in the US, we tend to focus much more on Santa. There are a lot of songs that have to do with Santa, a lot of pictures and decorations that have to do with Santa Claus. But in Denmark, they focus, I think, a little bit more on the Nyssa than they do on Santa Claus. And in Danish, Nyssa is their word for elf, and Santa Claus, they would refer to him as julemand, which is Christmas man. I really like how they use the Nissas for different things. In the US, we have the elf on a shelf. They have something similar to that called the drille Nyssa. And this is kind of like a mischievous elf, you know, somebody who's up to tricks, which is very much like Elf on the Shelf. But this is something a lot of times you'll see come home in like a box with your kid who's in daycare, and he'll have one night where he's in charge of the Nyssa. And then, you know, the teachers say, well, if he does anything, let us know about it or take a picture or something. And here's a picture of what the Nyssa did when my son brought him home. He ended up staging a snowball fight with marshmallows in my kitchen. They also decorate a lot with Nyssas. You can, you know, cut them out of cardboard and hang them up in different places. If you're interested in finding this Danish style Nyssa and you live in the US, I'm putting the link to the souvenir shop, the gift shop in Elkhorn, Iowa, where if you are wanting to buy something, I know it can be a lot getting it from Europe with the amount of time that it takes and the amount of cost, but in my video for Elkhorn, Iowa, there is a huge section for Christmas items. I was completely blown away. I really wish I would have known about it when we were living in the US with all of the things that you could get. So I mentioned before with the Able Skiwa, they have Nyssa items, they have all kinds of things. So I'm putting the link down in my description. If you are living in Canada or the US, somewhere over there, and you are interested in finding some of these things for your Christmas this year, then go ahead and check that out. Some other things that I really love about a Danish Christmas happens on Christmas Eve. One in particular is going to church. Now, most people who are Christian tend to go to church on Christmas Eve. It's very common. I wouldn't say that the Danes are very religious, but they are very traditional. So when it comes time to going to church on Sunday, there won't be that many people there. It's usually a bunch of older people and maybe if somebody's getting baptized or something. I went to church quite a bit when we first moved here because that was what we were used to in the US. And it was very awkward when the priest would actually say, "Why are you here?" Kind of like it's not very common for people to come on Sundays. And I'm thinking, isn't that a good thing? You know, whatever. But it's fun to go on Christmas Eve because people come out of the woodwork. Meaning, that's maybe an English American expression, I don't know, but People who never go to church will go to church on Christmas Eve. It is so funny because they will have multiple services. They'll have one every hour on the hour for I don't know how long. In our town of like 8,000 people, they will have multiple services. It's crazy. We went one year and it was full. They told us to come back. I could not believe it. It's nice, I think, when you go to church and there are a lot of people. I love going to church on Christmas Eve in the US. It's such a special time. I mean, I've done it since I was a little girl. There'd always be something special about it. And I'm glad that we're able to carry on the tradition here. And of course, we get to sing those fun Christmas songs. Another thing with regards to Christmas Eve is what happens on Christmas Eve. And two things that kind of go hand in hand is that in Denmark, they put candles on their trees. They don't tend to put the artificial lights on. Yes, you can. You can go out and buy a fake tree, but it's not as common, I think, to buy a fake tree in Denmark as it is in the United States. When I was growing up until the point where I met my husband, and I met him when I was close to 30, I had never had a real tree in my entire life. We'd always had one fake tree that we put in a box and we got out every year, and we got to know how to build it and all these sorts of things. And we had certain lights that we would string on it and whatever else. But in Denmark, it's so different because they actually have these candles that have like a little weight on the bottom, these holders that have these like finger-sized candles that stick in. And I don't know if they're fast burning or what, but when we burn them on Christmas Eve, it doesn't really seem to take long before they're all the way down to the bottom and they burn themselves out. But I really like that. You know, when we talk about that Advent candle that we light every day, it's just nice sometimes to be able to turn off all the lights and then just to look at the candles on the tree. There's just something about it. You know, the real tree, the light, everything is just so natural, the light of the fire. So that's something that I really like. And another thing with regards to, so my next one, is dancing around the Christmas tree. And this is something, you know, we have a song in the US, Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. It's not the same because a lot of times I think that in the US, we would put our tree kind of off to the side. Maybe it would go in a corner, it would go to the side of something. We wouldn't really put it in the middle of a room. And I wouldn't say that Danes do that either, but they would put it out from that corner or that wall so that way you could go all the way around it. Because on Christmas Eve, one thing that they do when they turn off the lights and they start to light the candles is that they will have these songbooks. And here is a picture of a traditional songbook, and I've actually seen these at the grocery store. It was in a section where they had some Christmas decorations and things. You would pick a song and read from the songbook, and then you would all hold hands and go around the tree as you were singing. And sometimes you would go fast and sometimes you would just kind of walk. But it's a lot of fun. The first time that I ever celebrated Christmas with my husband's family here in Denmark, we didn't have children. No one had children. I think the youngest of all of us was like 24 or something. So it was something that we still did, even though it was a Christmas filled with adults. But now that we have children, it is a bit special, I think, and it's a lot of fun. One other thing that I really love about Christmas traditions in Denmark is I love the idea of the Christmas lunch. Now, this is not the lunch that you have on Christmas Eve or the lunch that you have on Christmas Day. No, it is not held on an actual Christmas Day. A lot of times it is held maybe the week before or the week after, and it is usually something that is celebrated with friends. There would be so many different dishes, and then you would trade out, and then another one would come in, and you'd trade out, and another one would come in. But you would really want to pace yourself when it came to that kind of meal. You didn't want to just load up on fish and then you'd have another serving and then another one and another, and then we'd do like tartlettas and oh my gosh. I'll have another video where I talk all about food at some other point in time so you can see what I'm talking about. But the fact of the matter is that you can get really full really fast. And then the drinking that goes along and all the different glasses that are there, what? You gotta know what goes in which glass and when you're gonna drink what. It's really kind of one of my favorite things because it's so interesting. There's so many different parts to it all. And then of course at the end, you finish it off with your Rieslemand. But we would sit at the table for hours. It's not just come on over and eat and then we'll talk a little bit and then who knows what's gonna happen after that. We would be eating for hours. That's just how a Christmas lunch goes. That's very similar to how it is on Christmas Eve, but it's just different. Christmas Eve is kind of for family. You know, it's nice to spend some time together. You're probably not gonna be drinking maybe as much as you would at a Christmas lunch. Christmas lunch is definitely a taxi ride home and a designated driver. It is an all-night kind of thing. So there you have it. There's some of my favorite Christmas traditions in Denmark. I know I've probably forgotten so many more, but there are other things that I want to talk to you about in other videos, so I'm going to be kind of leaving those out for right now. Specifically being advent calendars, being Christmas foods, and things like that. Do you have some experience with a Danish Christmas that you'd like to share in the comments? Go ahead and do that below. What are some of your favorite memories of Christmas as a child? I would really love to hear all about that in my comments. But before you go ahead and make those comments, go ahead and click that red subscribe button if you are not a subscriber. I'm so thankful for all of the people who have been supporting me on my channel and commenting. I'm really glad that you're here and I'm glad to get to know you. Be sure to give me a thumbs up, let YouTube know that this is the type of video that you'd like to see more of. And as always, take care.